Happy New Year! It's the first bandgeek8408 video of 2012. Ooh, new intro. This is different, isn't it? So as people generally do at the beginning of a new year, I am taking a look at the year behind and the year ahead and trying to figure out what I have done in the past year and what I want to do better in the next year. That's a very long-winded way of saying I've made some New Year's resolutions. Now, just like last year, I'm not going to share with you all of my New Year's resolutions because I have quite a few of them and most of them are just continuations from previous New Year's resolutions, but I am going to share with you some of my goals for this channel specifically. And I'm going to do it based on the different things that I do on this channel, and so without further ado, let's throw it over to regular Matt for a look at what's going to be going on with books. Thanks, me. Now, you might remember from my video from last year at about this time that I had several book-oriented goals in mind for 2011. One of them was to read more graphic novels. I have done that. I read both volumes of Mouse, I read Watchmen, I read the first two Scott Pilgrim volumes, I started reading Sandman, and I read Superman Red Son. Second, read a Charles Dickens novel. I did that as well. I read and reviewed Hard Times by Charles Dickens. And three, to read The Lord of the Rings, or at least to try to read The Lord of the Rings, and I've done better at the trying to read Lord of the Rings than the actual reading of Lord of the Rings. Which is to say, I finished the first book. And by first book, I don't mean The Fellowship of the Ring, I mean the first book, like the first half of Fellowship of the Ring, where he labels it Book 1. But I am making slow and steady progress, and I promise you that there will be a Books vs. Movies review of The Lord of the Rings in 2012. Now, I have done several book reviews on this channel in 2011. I plan to continue those as I read more books in 2012. And briefly to talk about the favorite book series, a series that started me reviewing things on YouTube. I started doing my favorite books reviews in 2009, and in that year I did 25 favorite books reviews. In 2010, I did 23. And in 2011, I have done two. I only did two. But I do have a three-tiered goal for the remaining books on the favorites list. My primary goal is to finish with the long series of books, so any series that's more than 3 books long I would like to get done with this year. The secondary goal is to finish with all the series, the ones that are 3 books or longer. And the tertiary goal is to finish the favorites list, or at least finish the favorites list to the extent that I'm able to as I keep reading and gaining more favorite books. And that about does it for books. Now I'm going to turn it over to my movie reviewing counterpoint, the Mad Hatter, for movies. Thanks, Matt. So at this point last year, movie reviewing was pretty new for me. So I decided to take a look at some actual good movies, that I would look at the American Film Institute's top 100 list of their greatest films. This became the What's All the Fuss About reviews, and I haven't made it very far in these reviews, but I am still planning on watching all of these movies, and I do actually have a couple of other reviews prepared that I just haven't filmed yet. So I will be continuing down that list, I will be reviewing movies as I see them, and I will be continuing down the favorite movies list. But it occurred to me, you know, I'm reviewing a lot of pretty good movies, or movies that are at the very least mediocre, and I feel like I should look at the other end of the spectrum. So to find out what that's all about, just stay tuned. And that does it for movies. Now on over to the Scottish reviewer for new series. Scotty? It's a simple New Year's resolution video. I'm not going to try to sabotage it. I think you're getting really obsessive about this. Oh, I gotta go. Thanks, Hatter. Let's talk about some new stuff that I might be doing for 2012. First of all, I will be continuing with the theater reviews. I've kind of been falling behind on those, but I would like to continue with the shows I've been in series. But in addition to that, there are a lot of different forms of media that I really haven't looked at that much that deserve some attention. One of these things is television shows, which will probably be handled by Hatter, because they're pretty close to movies. A lot of the television shows that I like do tell something of an overarching story, and it would be interesting to look at how they accomplish that. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to handle this yet, but I've got something in the works, so stay tuned and maybe you'll see it. Additionally, music is something that I really don't look at that much. One of the suggestions that I got for my 2,000 subscriber challenge that sadly I forgot to include in the voting was to look at a concept album. You know, an album where all the songs are kind of related to this one theme, or they try to tell a story, and I thought this was a really good idea. So at some point in the hopefully not too distant future, I will be looking at a concept album of some sort. And as for other new stuff, who knows? We'll see what pops into my head. But for now, let's go back over to the bookshelf and television set, rejoin Matt and Hatter for comparison reviews. Even you can be more reasonable.
All I am saying is that you might want to consider finishing the book before you actually start to pass judgment
like he's gonna have an abrupt change of style halfway through the book.
I'm
sorry, I think I've got a pretty good handle on the writing style.
Pass judgment on what I've read just by going.
Oh, right. Comparative reviews. Matt, you want to start us off?
Sure.
Books versus Movies reviews are, of course, going to continue in the coming year. Next up, we have Peter Pan, the tiebreaker that you all chose. In addition, I will be continuing my comparative review series with the Scottish Reviewer, From Stage to Screen, where I look at stage productions that have been turned into movies. And there's also a new series of comparative reviews that I kind of want to try. There are a lot of stories out there, like The Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland and Peter Pan and A Christmas Carol, that have been around for a long time and have had a lot of different visual adaptations made of them. And I'd like to look at those different visual adaptations and kind of compare and see what's different about them, not necessarily to decide which one is best, but just to look at the differences. And now let's head over to the guy with the guitar sitting on the futon for songs.
I think I was supposed to say that.
Songs. Thanks, fellas. So let's talk about the songwriting that I did in 2011. I didn't do very much songwriting in 2011 at all. However, one of my other goals for 2011 was to finally release an album, and I have done that! So there is now an album called Songs for You that you can purchase for 75 cents a track or $7 for the entire 14-track album. It includes such classic hits as 1,667 Words, I Soul by Soul for 1,000 Subscribers, Literary Romance, and several others, including re-recordings of Stalk Me Like You Stalk Bruce Willis and Whatever Happened to Sally Ann Perks. And this also includes 2 previously unreleased songs, one that is inspired by Marcus Zuzak's I Am the Messenger, and the other that is inspired by the battle between pirates and ninjas. And finally, for 2012, I am going to be reinstating the songwriting challenge. So I am going to try to write and post a new song every month in the year 2012. I might not make a video for every song, but I will write a song, and I will at the very least post it on my Bandcamp page. And that about does it for this portion of the video. Now let's bring it all full circle and go back to the desk for vlogging. Matt? Thanks, guys. So, regular vlogging. Just like last year, I'm not going to make any promises as to a regular schedule for the year, but I am going to try to keep it to at least 1 video per week, and I'm gonna try for 2 or 3. And that about does it for this first video of 2012. Stay tuned for more reviews, more vlogs, more songs, and more fun times on bandgeek8408. And until next time, this is Matt Guyan saying, only 355 more days until the end of the world.